This is KUGAN CASSIUS for IFL TV in association with MTK Global. We're on the way to Liverpool, Nxtgen.
Do you know what I've realised? You're actually, you know how videos do a lot of views? You actually do have some relevance to the number of views. Because your boy, Andrew McClark, done a great job last week, by the way, in Dallas. Shout out to Andy. But when you do the interviews, they do slightly more numbers.
Alright.
So I'm giving you props.
There's a compliment in there somewhere.
No, what I'm saying is you're not as irrelevant as I thought you were.
You know I'm not irrelevant.
No, I know, but I'm quite...
You know I'm big in the game.
You are big in the game, and there's a lot of people telling me that you've been spotted out lately in Billericay, and you know you've got a little bit of your swag back. I don't know if that's true. I'm just saying.
Shout out Harry's Bar.
Did you know David Gandy's from Billericay?
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, painful. Painful. Alright, I want to start with obviously the weekend. Fantastic fight between Maurice Hooker and Ramirez.
Really good.
Didn't go your way for your guy.
No, not a lot's going my way really at the moment. But on a serious note, I think I'm cool with it because it was such a great event. It was such a great fight. It was such a great night that I know this is really cheesy, but boxing won. And it was two promotional companies coming together, two champions coming together in a great fight for boxing. And it was one of the best fights I've seen live. In fact, if we would have got another 3 or 4 rounds, might have been the best fight I've seen live. Brilliant performance from Jose Ramirez. Just technically really, really good. And I think he's number 1 right now at 140. Regis Progress didn't like it when I said that in the press conference. But I just think on paper, you have to give Ramirez the number 1 slot, in my opinion. Doesn't mean that he's definitely number 1, but it means that in terms of what he's accomplished at the moment, he's number 1. And it's a great division, isn't it? I mean, you've got obviously Josh Taylor against Progress coming up in a final of the Super Series. Got Ramirez now. So it was a brilliant night. And you know, I was gutted that Mo lost, but at the same time, I didn't leave Dallas thinking. I left there buoyant that we'd put on a great fight for DAZN. Obviously Sky had it as well, and yeah, it was a good night for boxing.
How was obviously your first show in Dallas? Did the Dallas people think you're a prick as well? Or?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, actually no. You're going to be surprised next time. I'm actually getting quite a lot of love in America. It won't last, but it is at the moment like. It feels a little bit like in the early days of the US, where it's like, I like this guy, in the UK, sorry, I like this guy, you know, he's actually coming trying to change the game, make a difference. After a while, once you get a bit of success, no doubt they will think I'm a prick as well. But right now, it's good. Crowd was okay, wasn't spectacular, didn't quite get to 6,000, weren't far off. But if I would have taken it to Fresno or California, probably would have done 15,000. But the idea was to give Mo the fight in his hometown, build him so that if he won, you've got a guy who is actually a star in his hometown. Didn't work out for him, but he fought great. He showed a huge amount of humility and class, and his stock rose in the fight. So we'll see Mo come back, maybe even at 147. And I think Ramirez now, he's a big star. You know, I mean, he's going to be asking big money from Top Rank, and you know, he deserves it because he's the man right now in the division.
Obviously, yeah, we're on our way to Liverpool for your Nxtgen show, which we'll come on to in a little while. But some big news today that obviously after your announcement of the signing of heavyweight Hughie Fury, that you're shortly going to announce his fight on the undercard of Lomachenko and Campbell against Alexander Povetkin, which is mental.
It is, and we were just, it's like one of those fights that you can't help talking about. Like we were talking about it off camera and you like, fuck. But you go to me, cool, that's putting him in the deep end, isn't it? For his first fight with Matchroom. I'm like, and I said, what do you want? Do you want him to have an easy fight? No, I'm just saying, like, you can't win either way. Right, yeah. So, to be honest, when I signed Hughie, I never thought we'd put him in with Povetkin in the first fight. But the opportunity arose and he took it. And I've got to say, and I've met Huey and I know Peter. Huey Fury has got a big set of bollocks, right? Because Povetkin is not a guy that you voluntarily accept, especially as your first fight. He could have had that fight you were talking about.
Like the Welcome to Matchroom fight.
Yeah. It's a standard Welcome to Matchroom. There's a nice few quid for an easy fight. Yeah. But he said, no, I'd rather take more money in a fight that actually could take me somewhere. And if he beats Povetkin, he really is somewhere. I mean, he's a guy you can start saying, I want a world title shot. His profile will be through the roof. And yeah, like I said, mate, Huey Fury, like he boxed Parker at what, 22 for a world title?
Yeah.
He went to Bulgaria.
Which a fight a lot of people believe that Huey won as well against Parker.
Fight, yeah, it wasn't the greatest fight in the world, but it was a very close fight. The fight against Pulev in Bulgaria, a lot of people turned that fight down because they didn't want to go to Bulgaria. Huey went. I think he was 23 at the time. Now he's 24. Now he's jumping in with Povetkin. I love it. I love it. We should get behind that. Do you know what I mean? We shouldn't. Oh, Huey Fury. Oh, he's taking a risk. Fuck off. What do you want? You want fighters to take risks. You want them to take tough fights, don't you? So give Huey Fury the respect. You know, years ago, when AJ first won the world title, we were looking at Huey Fury maybe as a potential opponent, sort of around the similar sort of time when he fought Parker. And Peter come on to me, he's like, I'm telling you, we will fight AJ. And I thought it was all a load of bollocks. I thought, nah, they won't fight AJ, they don't want to fight AJ, they're just saying that. And we negotiated a little bit. I felt like they priced themselves out a little bit at the time. But I felt in my heart of hearts, and I don't mind admitting it, that they never really wanted that fight. I know now they did, because they're willing to take these kind of fights. And like I say, Huey and Peter, but obviously Huey's the guy getting in there, deserves all the respect in the world, because he's going in with Alexander Povetkin at the O2. And what a fucking chief support on Lomachenko Campbell. I mean, we've sold nearly 16,000 tickets. We've got like 1,000 tickets left. So it's a sellout. And I'm giving you Povetkin against Fury, and I'm giving you world title fights to be announced this week, and I'm giving you domestic fights, and I'm giving you world class world championship contenders as well. But that fight is fucking seriously horny, and I have to give massive credit to Huey Fury, because it's a gamble, but it's a calculated gamble, because if he beats him, he's in a really, really good place. Really good place. But give him the respect, please.
No, absolutely. It's
not you. I'm talking about you.
What do you mean me?
No, you.
What are you talking about?
No.
What?
You've got to start respecting people more.
Who don't I respect?
No. A lot of people saying it.
Oh, shut up. You
a lot of people down Harry's bar.
Yeah, down Harry's bar.
Yeah, no, they've been saying
great
it.
plug for Harry's, by the way.
Oh, I've got loads of people to thank on the coffee stakes for sending me coffee. Wanker Coffee.
Okay.
Spelt with a W-A-N-C-H. Coffee Wankers. W-A-N-C.
I don't know what are you talking
company.
about?
Don't you remember we did that interview and I said,
someone
sent me this
yes,
coffee.
I do remember.
Well, since then I have had untold amounts of coffee being sent to me.
Oh.
So I just want to say thank you to anyone who sent me coffee.
Okay.
It's very important to me, because it's an important part of my life. And actually, when you start drinking proper proper coffee, you start to realise the old caramel macchiato might not be the one anymore. So shout out to the people sending me coffee. I've now got a coffee machine in my house. Proper, you stick the beans in, grind it down. It's good.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing that, by the way.
I'm getting old.
Oh, no, fair enough. Okay, so now, don't want you to start calling me a clown and
that geezer
and
biting
me head off.
If you imagine, so you're talking about this barbershop geezer, right, who spends his whole life abusing me, his whole life, but people say to me, why do you give this geezer a second of your time? I like to treat people with respect. If you're coming to my show and you're part of the media, I don't feel like I have the right to say to you, no, fuck off, mate, I ain't doing an interview here. So I treat with people with respect. This guy has zero respect. So he's paid, I've been reliably informed, I won't tell you who pays him to come, but he is paid to come and stick it on me, right? But you can't have a balanced conversation with this individual who is just like there to do a job, which is to try and stitch me up or make me look bad or abuse me. So that's why I called him a clown, because I don't mind you asking me questions, but if I ask you a question back, we can at least have a conversation about it. But he's like, oh yeah, you know, Dillian Whyte this, and then comes out with like, and what about what your dad said? It's like, where's that come from? And then what about what you did a week? Like, it's just, and then he follows me around, and he turned up to the event, and I just said to him, I said, you're a little bitch. He said, why? Because you're all nicey to me, and then when you get on your YouTube channel, like some little tit, you start, oh, Eddie Hearn, I mean, this guy, I chased him out of town, man. It's like, no, I called you a little bitch, and I told you, I'll do your interview, but you were a little bitch.
Okay.
And, but you know, there are times where I've called you a little bitch, but that was off camera.
Yeah, that was in Harry's bar.
No, but I don't mind. I'll talk all day long.
What?
But you got to at least, like, man to man, give me respect. You can't slag me off mercilessly online and then come and kiss my ass off camera. Oh, Eddie, you're a great man, you're great. And then you go and watch his interview. You go, what the fuck? What's this geezer doing? So that's why I had to tell him.
People were tweeting me and saying to me, and they were tweeting guys like Rob, Tether, etc., and saying, this is how interviews should be done. Okay.
Yeah, but
so can you just break it down? If we were to have that approach.
No, but you're all on the payroll. So you're not going to say anything bad because you'll lose your job.
Or the press pass.
Yeah, you'll lose your press pass. I think at the end of the day, look, people have got an agenda, and what you've seen with this Whyte thing is so many people have got agendas. And listen, the whole situation, it's been fucking horrendous. It's been a horrendous week, right? But it's life and you deal with it. But it doesn't help when you've got people with agendas, and people see through those agendas. I mean, look at Deontay Wilder. I mean, I don't often agree with Tyson Fury, but Deontay Wilder is a proper dosser, right? Dosser. Oh man, yeah, Matchroom, yeah, Eddie. Fucking the geezer's obsessed with me and Matchroom. You know? I mean, this is a guy, like, no, anyway, that's for another interview, but so all these people who are quick to jump, they don't know the facts. You know, they don't know the ins and outs of what happened. They don't know, and everyone seems to be completely disregarding the fact that Dillian Whyte was cleared to fight. So, and then we'll come on to your questions.
Okay.
But like the WBC, for example, I mean, quite clearly the WBC never wanted Dillian Whyte to be mandatory. All right? Why is that? Maybe he's not with, I don't know, the right people. But one thing I'll say is this: how can you suspend a fighter? On what grounds? Through an article they read on Boxing Scene. You don't know the facts yet. I don't even know all the facts. The only facts that have been presented to us is, I'm talking about us as in the boxing community, is Dillian Whyte had to attend a hearing, provide evidence, and was cleared to fight. He's not suspended by UKAD. He's not suspended by the British Boxing Board of Control. These are the people that heard the case. Yet the WBC decides to suspend it. On what grounds? So please, let's wait till the whole story comes out. And there's loads and loads I want to say. And unfortunately, because it will jeopardise Dillian Whyte's case, and more importantly, the fact that it's confidential between those parties, until it comes out. It's not a case of, so we'll never find out what happened. You will. But he's fighting for his career right now. Do you know what I mean? Like, he's I said in America, guilty until proven innocent. And that's why I lost my rag with that geezer, because I said, ask yourself one question. why did they clear him? And he was like, well, you answer that. I said, no, I'm asking you. He produced his evidence, right? If he was guilty as such, he wouldn't have boxed. So they've obviously had a reason to clear him. Oh, well, you know, and so people are just missing that point completely. And I feel like the WBC's testing program partner, who is it? VADA. Dillian Whyte employed VADA throughout this whole process, as he does every fight, and has passed all the tests that we've had. So how can the WBC suspend him when he's passed all his protocol? And not just the WBC's protocol, the additional protocol that he's employed for that camp. How can you suspend him until you even know the facts and what will be presented and what will come out? So I don't know. I don't know whether it's agenda or whether they just feel they're under pressure to do something. So, you know.
Okay. I obviously watched what you said in Dallas.
Yeah, and that got even that, like, I did that as a favour to you, really.
Okay.
Because I'm being told that anything that I say could jeopardise Dillian Whyte's sort of situation in case with UK. Like, this isn't the end of this. Do you understand what I'm saying? And he has to prove his innocence. So there's certain things that I can and can't say. And I tried in that interview to give you as much as I can. And a lot of it I don't know.
Okay.
So...
Okay, listen. Okay. So the first thing I'd really want to ask you is why you can't confirm or deny whether Dillian Whyte's A sample came back as a positive or negative result.
Because what I know is that there was an adverse finding.
Right.
Is that a positive result? Is he found guilty of, like, all these questions? He was asked, there was obviously a problem with his drug test. That's one thing I definitely can tell you. But he was cleared to fight, so I don't actually know the answer to the question.
So if he was cleared to fight, are we kind of, I don't know, maybe naively going to suggest then that he didn't fail a test if he was cleared to fight?
Well,
otherwise, why?
You said that, but yes, there is an argument to that theory. But I don't actually know the answer because UCAB will have to make a ruling. What I'm saying to you is that if they've looked into a test that he had, that clearly there was an issue with, right? Otherwise, we wouldn't have even been in this situation.
Something was found. Adverse findings.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. That's like common knowledge.
Rumoured to be Dynabol. Okay.
Again, like rumoured. I've seen 3 substances reported.
Okay.
Again, what I know, that's totally incorrect. Those reports that I've seen. Okay. So you're in a situation where we were contacted about this adverse finding, right? By the way, Dillian is Dillian. My job is to promote a show. I have a contract with both fighters to pay them a lot of money to take part in a fight, subject to them being cleared to box, obviously, by the local commission, by UCAN, VADA, etc. Right? So I'm in a situation where we get this news. Now it's over to Dillian Whyte. Dillian Whyte deals with it with his lawyers. UK'd say, basically the only way you can fight is to effectively prove to a panel, and again, this is speculation on my behalf, your innocence effectively. So that's what he had to do. So this is not the Eddie Hearn panel or the IFL panel that we just got together down Harry's bar on Saturday in Billericay and went, right mate, come on, let's have a listen, what's happened? This is the National Anti-Doping Panel. This is a government agency you're talking about, you're dealing with. So this is a proper procedure. And he went through that procedure, and to be honest with you, you look at the money you spend, or the fighters spend on VADA testing, sometimes we spend, in this case Dillian Whyte out of his own pocket. That VADA testing is the biggest saving grace potentially Dillian Whyte ever had, because all those reports were analysed, and again I can't go into the subject, but I'm Like, I know a lot about when these tests were taken, and again, this will come out, right? So this was all presented to the panel.
Who was on that panel?
It's a national anti-doping panel. It's an independent panel. So what happens is UKAD, to make it fair, UKAD will have this panel of experts or judges or whoever it is, and it's presented to them. Okay? They went in, and the panel decided that Dillian Whyte is cleared to fight.
Did they take a vote on that?
I don't know. I wasn't involved in the panel. I wasn't on in the hearing. I didn't have anything to do with it. I don't know how it works. As far as I know, it's a judge, like a case, or and they cleared him to fight. So they looked at all the information, all the testing patterns, the VADA test that happened just before, and cleared to fight. So once he's cleared to fight, and I do feel, I know no one feels sorry for the British Boxing Board of Control, but we had this conversation off camera. The British Boxing Board of Control are not a doping agency. They're not. So
they take lead from UKAD.
Totally. So the British Boxing Board of Control,
can they overrule UKAD?
I don't think so, because once you sign up to a code in your rules, where effectively their rules are saying whatever UKAD decides, we honour as well. Do you understand? So if you're banned by UKAD or suspended, and by the way, Dillian Whyte could have been suspended for that fight. They could have said no, suspension. His licence is suspended. Does that make sense? So if UKAD come in and ban you for 6 months, your licence is suspended for 6 months. The two work hand in hand. So once he's cleared by UKAD, the board don't really have any decision to make. The board is, right, he's cleared to fight. If he's suspended by UKAD, or he's banned by UKAD, or he's not allowed to fight by UKAD, then the board won't clear it.
So we wouldn't be in a situation where the board or people on the board wouldn't have wanted that fight to take place.
You were talking about an interview that Warren gave. So I don't know who knows about this on the board, because it's confidential between the board and the fighter and UKAD. That's why a lot of it I can't say, because I'm breaching confidentiality talking about it, but I'm talking about things that are now in the public domain, right? Or some of them, and some of them are incorrect, so I like to put them right. But this wasn't, this was a nightmare. Do you know what I mean? Like, you can imagine the situation, and I know people won't feel sorry for Dillian Whyte. Maybe one day they will. But he found out about this on Thursday evening.
He wasn't alerted straight away.
No, because I think it needed to be dealt with by his team, and emotionally for a fighter, you have to understand. And again, we get onto the Rivas thing in a minute, where you want a fighter to go into a fight, on it. This is tough sport. So Dillian Whyte was alerted, I think soon after, but shortly after, and he had to live with that for 2 days. He didn't sleep at all, and he didn't know whether he was even fighting until Saturday afternoon. So the preparation was fucking horrendous. And again, once we know the overall picture of this case and situation, you may feel sorry for him, or you may not feel sorry for him.
What can you tell us in regards to the B sample?
I don't know. So this is all part of the ongoing. I have to say that in the history of what I know about drug testing, I don't think the B sample really deviates from the A sample. I probably know about as much as you. And again, we had this conversation off camera. So I don't know whether that's been tested. Since the fight, I've not had any communication with UKAD, the board, or Dillian Whyte on this situation. It is totally a confidential case between them. Have I spoken to Dillian Whyte's team? Yes. Not about the case, only about the statement, the facts, and you've got to get this out there. But he's being told, do not do interviews and get this out there until we have cleared your name, because this is too important. This is his career right now is in tatters, and it may not be. very soon. But just do me one favour, like, and I don't know if Dillian Whyte is proved 100% innocent here, just please give him the respect that you now feel he may deserve. Do you understand what I mean? Because this is like, I feel very strongly about fighters using PEDs. We were talking about the Jarrell Miller stuff and stuff like that, and I've gone off on one, and people love putting up things that I've said. My stance doesn't change. Anybody who has knowingly used PEDs to gain an advantage in a fight in this sport should be banned.
But who's deciding if it's knowingly or not?
The governing bodies, KUGAN. We can't decide. What the fuck do we know? Oh yeah, mate, no, I think you've done it. Right, you're banned. This is why these people are in the positions they're in. This is why there is a government agency designed to deal with these incidents. Experts. This is why VADA tests. The good thing about VADA is it's not confidential, right? It's reported amongst the parties. So when you sign up to VADA testing for every fight, big fight that we do, we're on the emails, the fighters on their emails, the promoters are on the emails, the governing bodies are on the emails, and the British Boxing Board of Control or the Commission are on the emails. So when Jarrell Miller failed a drugs test, VADA send out an email to all those parties, and everybody's got an agenda, a big mouth. So before you know it, that's all public, right? Jarrell Miller failed a test. Half an hour later, it was reported in the media. The bad thing about VADA is they don't have the right to sanction or suspend. Okay? So the good thing about UKAD is that they can ban and suspend and take action. The bad thing about UKAD is there's a strict confidentiality between UKAD, the board, and the fighter. Does that make sense?
Okay.
So, in a good situation, like, and again, I'm sorry to keep using Jarrell Miller as an example, but if that fight was in the UK, Jarrell Miller would have received a ban from UKAD. But he's not banned, so he can fight now in any commission that will license him, of which many would. So I just think, I mean, the situation's not ideal at all, but there is a problem. One problem is that too many people are cheating. And again, like, people on their high horse, Aaron. Well, Bob, who's fucking tested on your fights? You know?
But
What's the drug testing situation in American commissions? This fight was one, VADA tested through 11 or 12 weeks, what it was of training camp, plus Dillian Whyte was subject to UKAD testing randomly. You can't have more testing in place than he had, and if there's a problem with one of his samples, that needs to be looked into and dealt with by these people. But what I'm saying to you is, if his name is cleared, these people who have been very quick to criticise without any facts and have agendas need to just calm the fuck down. But if he's found guilty and he knowingly took this substance or whatever, then he should be banned from the sport.
where do you stand on? Okay, so you say about people knowingly have taken performance enhancing drugs in boxing, but from your point of view, it's not your thing to obviously ban people, because you can't, and it's not your thing.
Well, I can't ban people.
No, I know that, but you can decide whether you promote them or not, or whether you work with them or not. So where do you stand?
If someone has knowingly cheated, and I really believe,
but again, that comes down to whether you believe it or not, which is not really. Do you understand what I mean?
Do you think Dillian Whyte cheated?
In this instance?
Yeah.
No.
Right. And a lot of people feel the same way. So I'm not a physician. I'm not a scientist. I'm not a doping expert. I believe that he is innocent. And at the moment, so did the fucking panel. Right? So that's how I feel about that situation at the moment. In other instances where maybe I don't know, or maybe There's other people who I believe either were uneducated about supplements. I mean, you say it's unlucky. You may take something that you didn't know was on the ban list. That, you know, if you're on a cycle, if you're cheating, if you're injecting shit in your buttocks, then yes, I don't want to work with you. I don't want to work with you. So there will be situations where you don't have a choice but to work with a fighter. And there will be situations where after a while, maybe a fighter has received a ban and they're back in the sport and they're relevant. Should I use them? Should I not use them? I guess that's a decision for me. But I don't want to work with people who have knowingly cheated and tried to gain an edge in a fight.
And that goes for Dillian Whyte or anyone.
100%.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter if it's Dillian Whyte, AJ, Jarrell Miller. Like, that's how I feel about this. I feel very passionately about this sport. And last week was not a good look for the sport. That's no good for me. That's no good for you. So we've got to act. We all have a responsibility, but we have to leave this in the hands of the experts and the people that are in place to make the decisions. We can't sit there as fans and on social media going, mate, fucking hell, he's guilty, sling the book at him. Surely you want to wait until the facts are presented and then, but you know, we talked about Dillian's position now. So what happens when they come out and go, right, this has all been looked into, this is what's happened, and he's completely cleared of everything. That's a cheat. I'm right, aren't I?
Yeah.
So this guy who's sacrificed everything for his career, like, don't get me wrong, if it's proved the other way, then I have to hold my hands up and go, but I don't think it is. And I think even what's happened so far should tell you enough about why did they clear him to fight? You know? And this is what I asked the guy in America. What? Just ask me this one question. Why did they clear him to fight? He went, you tell me. I went, I'm asking you. And some bloke shouted out, maybe he provided enough evidence to convince the panel that he was innocent. I said, oh, fucking hell, mate, that's fucking bang on, that is. Well done. They haven't just gone, oh, yeah, we'll leave it later, just let him fight. They've heard the evidence and cleared him. And once they clear him, once he's licensed by the commission, the fight's on. The fight is on.
Right, there's a couple of things I just want you to kind of clear up, and these were things that kind of suggested, if you can, if you can. So the first thing is it was suggested that you or whoever tried to put out an injunction to stop the story from going out.
Bollocks. I saw that Matchroom put an injunction in. Absolute bollocks. As was half of the stuff that was reported on this thing. So no. The other one was, you delayed the B sample.
That's what I was going to ask as well.
UKAD said you can have a hearing on this and provide your evidence. This is on Thursday night. With all due respect to a B sample being open, they tell me you've got to provide a witness there, you've got to have a scientist there to test how it's not cut, but whatever the terminology is, split or something like that. Just, you know, so, it's 400 quid. You can just do that, mate. No, we wanted a hearing with all the facts from VADA, with everything. So that's what happened, and that happened on Saturday morning.
So Saturday morning, you didn't know whether you had a main event going on that night?
Correct. And even worse, it's totally confidential between the six. So I'm bound by confidentiality. I can't break this confidentiality. I had a statement ready to go to say, unfortunately, this has happened, and the show will go ahead, and blah, blah, blah. And unfortunately, that was what was going to happen. And then we had a phone call to say the panel have heard the hearing, he's cleared to fight.
Okay, so obviously we know that, I say we know this from what we have read, etc., that the WBC, VADA and Oscar Rivas' team were not informed of this. Now,
well, VADA knew.
VADA did know.
VADA had to know, really, because, I mean, I think that you've got to ask yourself, where has Hauser got some of this information from?
Okay.
Right? Secondly, VADA were asked many, many questions and ask to provide certain things in relation to, effectively, Dillian Whyte's tests. Again, I don't want to go too deep into it, but that evidence was used effectively in the situation, right? So I would think that there's a good chance they knew.
Okay. All right. What the question is that the WBC didn't know, Oscar-Ruiz's team don't know. When I've heard you talk about you were following protocol and you were kind of confidentiality and legally you weren't obliged to tell them. But
I wasn't allowed
to tell them, or you didn't have to tell them, whichever. Okay. Do you think that that's right? That
I get the arguments. I mean, I spoke to Yvonne Michelle about this last night, and it's important to me that Yvonne and Oscar-Ruiz and the team understand what happened and the process that was followed, essentially. And in that respect, that process was 100% by the book followed. Do you understand? Right?
I see that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
but that's not what I'm asking you.
No.
Okay.
So could I have gone to Oscar-Ruiz on Friday night or Saturday morning and said, Oscar, just to let you know, there was an issue with Dillian Whyte's drug test, but it's all fine, mate, the fight's on. Maybe I would have broken the confidentiality, which essentially one of those team then lose the fight, come out after and say, oh well, Dillian Whyte had a problem with his drug test. All of a sudden you've got a major legal issue on your hands. Ethically.
But why if he was cleared?
Because the whole thing's confidential. Good. When he was cleared, for me, that's dealt with, right? If then something comes out that from Ruiz saying, oh, and he blames this on effectively what is now until an innocent man, then all of a sudden Dillian Whyte's like, I mean, in fact, looking at it now, it doesn't really matter because it is out there and he's just being accused of being guilty anyway. So it's easy to say that. But at the time, my responsibility is, if a fighter is cleared by that agency and by the British Boxing Board of Control, like, again, why is he cleared? So, yeah, I do get people saying, but it's very difficult to go and it's not, I say it's not safe, but the other situation is, you know, people saying, well, he should have known and etc.
It's just from a moral point of view that to tell a fighter that,
what you're saying,
even to tell him that this is the situation, whether it's on the day of the fight, before a fight, surely people's argument is that that fighter had a right to know into a fight.
Yeah.
He's cleared.
But if he's cleared, if there's an issue, like the reasons Oscar-Ruiz would be told in that situation, if Dillian Whyte was effectively suspended or found guilty, and the fight's off, but if he's not found guilty and he's cleared to fight, I'm sorry, like I don't necessarily agree with, oh, you have to tell him in that situation because he's been cleared. So in hindsight,
did you have the option to talk to their team and let them deal with that information? But you couldn't anyway. You wasn't allowed to do that anyway.
If you go to a fighter's promoter and say, just to let you know, there was an issue with one of Dillian Whyte's tests. He's had a full hearing and he's been cleared to fight. I don't even know whether that would, at the time.
Were you allowed to do that?
I'm not allowed. I'm bound by confidentiality. Right. No, it's totally. Yeah. It puts me in a terrible legal position to do that. I understand people saying morally, ethically, but at the time, all I'm thinking is, if he's found innocent, if he's cleared to box, there's like, we don't have to have that conversation. He's been cleared to box for a reason. So, if you don't agree that he's been cleared to box, that's really out of my control. But you know, there was other issues in the week that, you know, you get things, scans been referred and you got to get that seen, you know, like all these medical things, that goes on all the time. But this is a different kind of situation. But again, I'm bound by confidentiality, but I can't even tell you that it was solely the confidentiality of the fact that I couldn't tell Ruiz for that point. It's just that once he was cleared, he's cleared, the fight's on. Do you understand? Does that, you know?
So, I mean, if, alright, so say for example, you wasn't, you was given the option. If you want to tell them, you can. If you don't want to, you don't have to. I'm just putting it out there. What would you have done in that situation?
If I wasn't bound by, I don't know. I mean, just being honest, like, at the time, we all felt, and knowing the VADA testing in place, that Dillian Whyte had done nothing wrong, right? So once that was essentially, say, proved, but that is what happened, isn't it? I mean, he's had a hearing, and they've cleared him to fight. So these are the experts. These are the people that decide whether he should fight or not. So the experts have said yes, he's cleared to fight. So I don't know. I know it's easy to look back on it now and say, oh, you should have done this, should have done that. But you know, contractually, I'm in a position where if both fighters are cleared to fight, I don't know. I mean,
but you really, because you're the promoter, you're the one that does all the talking. A lot of this stuff actually doesn't involve you, does it? Like the stuff that's happened over the last sort of few days and that.
I'm not involved in that. Dillian Whyte's got his own case to deal with UKAD to clear his name, right? I believe in him. Now, whether I'm proved wrong, and you believe in him, right? And other fighters that I've spoken to who know him, they all believe in him as well. So now his job, which is so important with his lawyers, is to make sure that his name is 100% cleared with the WBC. Well, it's already cleared with the BFC and UKAD at the moment, but it's not cleared with you guys. So that's probably right now how he's feeling is his biggest job.
But you can understand people kind of looking in and seeing the situation. We don't know all the facts.
No, we don't know all the facts.
You can't make a conclusive decision.
But at least say this: why was he cleared? Is that not too much to ask? That he's had a hearing. This is not something that was brushed under the carpet. It wasn't, we'll deal with it next week, just let the fight go ahead. No, this was a hearing that he was cleared to fight at. So whether you think he's innocent or guilty, just answer that one question. Why was he cleared by an independent panel who assessed all the evidence and cleared him?
Well, okay, so again,
but you're saying we don't know the fact, but you know that.
Okay,
right?
So he was cleared. So again, am I naively going to say to you that he obviously didn't fail a test? Because if he had failed a test,
well, again, that's the smart way to think. But again,
am I wrong in saying that?
I don't know how you would sort of. I don't think there's a definitive answer to that question. What I can tell you is that there was an issue with one of his tests where he was asked to provide evidence. He did that, and they cleared him to fight. Like, that's factual. So despite what you read here, read there, that is factual. So when we say we don't know the facts, we know that at least, right? So why? Why was he cleared to fight? Surely he's got grounds of innocence in that respect.
Yes.
Okay. Good. We're getting there.
Okay, yes, because
so if someone's got grounds to be innocent and has been cleared to fight, should we not just let this unfold? And you ain't gonna have to wait years and like other issues in the past, right? Tyson Fury failed a drugs test. How long did that take to unfold? 2 years or whatever it was. So this ain't gonna be that way, because one, this was dealt with properly and quickly in terms of the hearing, and now Dillian's got to put the pressure on with his team to make sure that his name is cleared.
When did you kind of think after the fight that this situation would be, which it is now, public knowledge?
Honestly, no, it wasn't even it would be public knowledge. This was dealt with, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, but surely you knew that people like this was gonna.
Yeah, but my job is to stage a fight with both fighters. Like, the only way I can stage that fight is if fighters are licensed, no suspensions, etc., etc. So that's my job. So this fight was boxed under all those terms, right? Both fighters, no suspensions on fighters. Both fighters cleared by the commission. No suspension or punishment or whatever it was from VADA, from UKAD, etc., etc. So that's me. At the time, like, it wasn't as if I woke up on Sunday and went, oh, I hope this don't get out, what happened. My conscience is totally clear on all of the way that this was done. So when it came out, it was quite a shock, but not a shock, because...
But were you expecting it to...
yeah, probably.
I'm not going to use that expression "come out" because it sounds like, oh, it was secretive or whatever.
No, probably,
you know,
probably.
yeah.
But again, maybe I'm naive. I just know that, yeah, but you know, my mindset in that situation was, yeah, if it comes out, it comes out. He had an issue. He was asked to provide evidence. He gave evidence. He was cleared to fight. What? So now, but because of the spin of so many different people, and because of some reports that are false and some are true, and because of, like, you know, you have to understand that people want to see us fail so bad that people are talking amongst each other, like in the business, to say, right, you come out and say that. I know people who have sent you messages to ask me certain questions on camera, right? So this is a dog's game, but that's the game that we're in. So it's a situation where everybody wants to blow this up 20 times bigger than it is. And by the way, it ain't good. It ain't good at all. I'm not an idiot. But there are certain people out there that are doing their utmost to try and keep this going. Oh, do this, say this, put this out there, do this interview, fly into that fight to go and quiz Hearn on that. So we have to deal with that. But the only position I'm in right now, my conscience, as far as I'm concerned, totally clear, because I followed the exact rules and procedures. Forget legally.
No.
Legally, I did exactly what
legally in that.
Yeah, but this is my line of thinking. So you can have your opinion, right? I know that in that moment of all this happened, and let me tell you, it weren't an easy 48 hours at all. I dealt with it in the way that I believe to be absolutely correct on all levels.
So, right. Legally you followed the process, yeah? From the point this started correct. Up until today. Yeah. Do you agree with the process and the way that it was handled on everything? Do you agree with that process?
What I don't agree is that the test that he had was a month before we got the results. So there's certain things that I really don't like in this situation and that really don't make sense. And these are things that are going to have to come out in the wash as well. In terms of the process that took place from the unfortunate time when we got the news, do I agree with that process? I suppose so. I mean, he was given the opportunity to provide the evidence, and if that evidence was not sufficient, he wouldn't have been able to box. So, do I agree with the process? I think there's a lot of things not right with the system, but I don't,
because the system and the process seems to be kind of the bigger issue here.
Well, there's problems with all that. I mean, I would like to be in a situation where there's some kind of global body, or there's an agreement between everybody. This is the rules. But when you're using different testing agencies with different rules,
like, all right, we'll talk about this quickly. VADA and UKAD haven't got the same list of banned substances.
No, I'm not sure about that. Isn't it both under WADA? That's the WADA list. Anyway,
there's ones that are.
No, the bigger problem is with that is the out of competition.
Yes.
I think this is
affected the village.
I think the lists are very similar, but basically with UKAD, the out of competition list differs to the in competition list. Well, out of competition means any test not taken on the day of the fight.
On the day of the fight.
But obviously, you're in competition, you're training, you're getting stronger, you're getting physical benefits. That should really be in competition as well. That's just one minor thing of some things I don't agree on.
Shouldn't they be aligned exactly the same?
Yeah, but again, you're asking some fat geezer from Essex.
No, but I'm just asking, should they not be VADA and UKAD in terms of...
I would just think, look, it'd be a lot easier if there was one agency for boxing. But in essence, like VADA I trust, right? I think Margaret Goodman does a great job. But if you catch someone and you can't sanction them, what is the point? Right? So I feel like, is there a way that VADA can work with the American commissions, and I know the British Boxing Board are aligned to UKAD, where there is a sanctioning process that takes place? Or is it the governing bodies? Is it the WBC? Is it? I mean, the WBC, they come out and they're like, right, we don't actually know any facts, but we're going to suspend Dillian Whyte. What about other fighters in the past? What about Canelo? You know, were they so quick to come out and say, right, Canelo, yeah. So, but the WBC, even if VADA reported to the WBC that there was a failed test, what do? You know, can they back that? I think they, I mean, the WBA, I think, suspended Miller for 6 months. But wouldn't it be better if it was like the commission signing up to VADA to say, if someone fails a VADA test and is proved to, you know, be guilty, automatic ban of X. You know, in an ideal world, that's the way to do it. But the only thing I would say about this, and I know people don't give a monkeys about this, we do more testing than anybody. And I'm not even talking about Matchroom per se. I'm talking about the board. The board do a really good job with UKAD. We're the only commission in the world that really has random testing for their fighters. You know, look at in America. Again, I go back to Arum. Oh yeah, it's a fucking hell, Bob. You don't have testing on your shows. Every now and again, if there's a major fight. But what about all these undercard fighters that are on these fights? The commissions aren't testing them. So there's no fear, is there? At least if you sign up to even a WBC program, you may get a test. But if you sign up to VADA and you pay your $30,000 or whatever it is, and you're the one who's instigating it, like I know for this Oscar-Rivas fight, as soon as it was signed, Dillian Whyte was on me. Ed, make sure we're signed up to VADA. Here's my form, blah, blah, blah. Make sure you get Oscar-Rivas. Make sure, has he signed up yet? Has he signed up yet? So it's very hard for me to think that a guy is guilty when I see all that going on behind the scenes. You know what I mean? I mean, you think, imagine my last week. I mean,
would you have handled this the last, how long has this been going on for?
When did it come out? A week ago. Yeah, a week ago. Oh, what, since the test?
Since the test. Since you first found out about anything, would you have handled anything in hindsight? Would you have handled anything differently to how you have handled it at all? It would have been exactly the same.
Exactly the same. I would have followed. The answer to that question is, I would have done exactly what I felt was right at the time, which was exactly what I did. So I followed procedure. The board couldn't tell anyone because they're bound by confidentiality, right? Dillian Whyte can't talk about it. I can't talk about it, and I talk about it now because it's a lot of information is out there. So, and this is what I said to Yvonne Michelle. You know, and again, you'll have to interview Yvonne Michelle. Yvonne Michelle, I don't think disagreed with the way I handled the process. I think Yvonne Michelle disagreed with the process in general. Do you know what I mean? So, but again, I explained to him that everything that we did was what we were told was the procedure that would be followed. Okay? So this is a situation, right, you can have a hearing, but you've got to provide evidence and it'll be heard by an independent panel, and obviously if you can't box, if they suspend you, you can't box, and that's it.
Did you ever consider, obviously before this hearing was on the day, but did you consider if there was this adverse finding in a test for Dillian Whyte, did you consider pulling that off your own back?
I have a contract with the fighters.
So what does that mean? If you
if a fighter is cleared to fight, I have to produce a fight, right?
If you had pulled it, what would have happened?
Oh, we get sued by Dillian Whyte.
And Aj-Ruiz?
Yeah, probably. I mean, Aj-Ruiz then probably goes, what the fuck's going on? He made a fortune in that fight. A fortune.
Right. When the cards runs out,
yeah, and everyone
it
thinks
just
you've
stops.
edited.
It just stopped.
So just to let you know, what happens is, he's going like this and he goes, fuck, the card's gone. There's nothing edited. There is never anything edited in my videos. So anyway.
So we were saying about you.
Could I have pulled the show?
Could you have pulled the show?
Because the hearing was in place. I had to wait for that hearing. So I have a contract with both guys to provide this fight with them if they're cleared to fight.
So after being cleared to fight, you had no choice. You have to put the fight on.
No choice. If, by the way, Aj-Ruiz made so much money in that fight, he would have gone fucking berserk if I pulled a fight. Dillian Whyte would have said, you can't pull the fight. I've got this hearing. If I'm cleared to fight, the fight's on. So I would have had a huge legal problem with that. But anyway, it's all like hindsight now. But yeah, I mean, I'm again, I know people fucking can't stand me and people give me untold stick, but I know in my heart of hearts that I followed the absolute correct procedure, and at the time was very comfortable with what I was doing. If the fight was off, if he was found guilty, if he was suspended, it's fucking off, mate. There's nothing, you know, I'm phoning Yvonne Michelle, I'm really sorry, this is what's happened, but as soon as he's cleared, you know?
You might not be able to answer this question, but who knew and who didn't know about this situation?
No one knew other than the parties that are involved in the confidentiality, and perhaps VADA, because they were asked to provide evidence.
You say perhaps.
Well, they know we requested information on Dillian Whyte's test and also the testing laboratories and all that kind of stuff. So there is a good chance that, you know, and again, I don't know who, like.
Do you think the WBC should have been informed? Not from a moral point of view. From a moral point of view, do you think the WBC should have been involved? Because
you can't say a moral point of view, because you can't have a legal. The rules are in place for a reason, right? So morally, should rules be followed? Yes, right? So how can you say morally they should have been told, but morally you would have broken the rules that you sign up to? So does that question don't really make sense? WBC don't even really recognise UCAD. They recognise VADA. And every VADA test that came back from Dillian Whyte for fucking forever long, however long he's been signed up to him, has always been negative. So now they want to recognise UCAD, but they want to suspend him without even knowing anything about the situation. So we're suspending Dillian Whyte because we read an article and yeah, that's what we're doing. So it's like, but he was cleared to fight. He's not suspended by UCAD. He's not suspended by the British Boxing Board of Control. But you want to suspend him. Do me a cheesy quaver.
Okay. No, I appreciate you talking about it, because obviously...
I shouldn't be talking about it, but I feel as though I've got a responsibility to at least give you as much info as I can. And even in this interview, I've given you way too much information, but I feel passionate about it, and I just feel like, just answer yourself those simple questions. Why was he cleared to fight by a panel after providing evidence? You must know in your heart of hearts that if he's been cleared, there's a good chance that he's innocent. So let that play out. You ain't gonna have to wait 2 years to get the full story. I'm guessing that will be published and produced by all these people.
When do you see this whole thing being resolved?
I don't really know. I mean, I'm not involved. Like I said, I haven't been involved in one email, 1 second of the process since the fight. So all I know is that Dillian Whyte is working. Obviously, what do you think Dillian Whyte wants to do now? Clear his name. I mean, it's clear. It's clear at the moment. He's not banned. He's not suspended. He's not had his license taken away. So right now, he could go and fight next week. Right? He could go and fight next week.
So what are we waiting for?
We're waiting for this process that effectively he will want his name to be completely cleared in a public environment.
Is that the only issue we're waiting for at the moment?
Yeah,
for everything to come out to...
Yeah, I don't know what else they need, they want to review. All I know is that the job right now of Dillian Whyte is to say, right, if you want any more information, if you want any other, like, I don't know the process, I don't know any situation, but I want to be able to say that I'm innocent. I'm not suspended. I'm not, and at the moment he's not. So if there's ever a case of innocent until proven guilty, fuck me, this is it. So again, I don't know how it's going to play out, but I'm just saying, I know what I believe, I know what you believe, I know what other people who know him believe. Can he prove that? And once he's proved that, I hope that the people who have doubted him or the people who have criticised him can at least hold their hands up and say, all right, well maybe we should have jumped to that conclusion. And if he's found, like, if I'm wrong, then you'll make your own mind up from there.
So theoretically, you could pencil him in for a show?
Could fight next week.
No.
Not suspended. Not banned. Not, cleared to box by the board. So
I'm assuming at some point he'll want to talk about all this when he can.
Mate, you know Dillian Whyte, and he wants to tell the world his thoughts, but it is so important to his career. If he don't get this right and get this completely cleared up, he will always have the cloud over his head, and he don't want that. You know what he's put in the last few years. You know how hard he's worked, the sacrifice he's made. So
who has the power to clear his name?
Well, his name is cleared, like I said. He's not suspended. So I guess there has to be some kind of statement, or by the, I don't know, by UCAD, or to say this is what happened, and we are comfortable. There's no situation, there's no sanctions. I don't know. Again, I'm just speculating because I do not know the actual process from here. That's over to him and his team, and they've been working on it non-stop since the fight to make sure this is dealt with. There's an answer as to why, etc. And that's it.
Okay, like I said, I appreciate you.
Well, I hope you feel like you've grilled me sufficiently.
But it's not me. It's not me doing it. It's like people. You can understand why people kind of want clarity on it because
of course, well, for many
you guys, want clarity, and
I do, but
I'm
trying to give you the clearest clarity I can, which is, again, I'm fucking bored of saying it now. He was asked to provide information and evidence in a panel to decide whether he should be allowed to fight or not. He provided that evidence that cleared him to fight. He was therefore cleared to fight by the British Boxing Board of Control. So if you have an issue with that process or that decision, then you go and speak to the panel. But again, from my point of view, pure protocol follow.
One last question.
Fuck it now.
Mate, do you know the press conference footage where you were talking to Dillian? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Can you just talk me through that? So what?
Yeah.
What
So I said. It started off with, I think he was talking about how he even boxed with that mindset, and he went, my head was fucked. I haven't slept for 2 days, and I said it was a miracle of all miracles, mate. And he went, yeah, it's a fucking joke, blah blah blah. I said I had a statement ready to go. I got the call from him to say yes, he's cleared, he can fight, and he said, I'm not shaving my head because I want to keep my hair for DNA testing and evidence. That is, I believe, the whole transcript. Again, when he said this, he said that. That's exactly what happened. It was like the process from Thursday night to Saturday to that hearing, getting the evidence in time, speaking to the relevant people, getting the hearing, UCAD setting up a panel, all it weren't a good time. It wasn't a good time before the fight, and it ain't been a good time after the fight.
So I'm assuming he was requested to kind of keep his hair.
No, he just said that.
Oh, he said.
I don't know. I don't know what that does, but the reason he said that is because all he wants to do is clear his name. Because it's not even about being mandatory. It's just about integrity and credibility. You know what I mean? He's that's important to him. So now he'll be doing everything he can to make sure that he gets your credibility, not you, but you, to people saying, no, I believe it. No, he's right. He's clear. He's innocent. And if he's innocent, then he's innocent. So just bear that in mind. Can I go now?
No, we've got to talk about the Joshua rematch.
Right.
What's the update on that?
We've pretty much made a decision.
What?
And there's a lot of things that went into the decision, which I will talk about when we announce.
Can you rule out anywhere for us, or you can't rule out anywhere for
I
us?
think I can rule out America right
Okay,
now.
that's quite significant.
Yeah.
No MSV, baby.
Not 100%, but quite. I don't think it will take place in America.
Okay. How far is Cardiff ahead of anywhere else?
It's definitely a place of interest.
You're good, you are.
He don't want to go there, Ruiz. You know, which again doesn't mean we can't do it, but
He doesn't want to go to Cardiff.
no. But
Specifically
I won't say
Cardiff or-
disrespectfully say he doesn't have a choice, but
Specifically Cardiff or
I think
UK?
the UK. I don't think he's got anything against Cardiff.
I was
as
going
a
to
city,
say.
but I don't think he really wants to come to the UK. So again, maybe that, you know, once we pull the trigger, do we have to take that into consideration? We don't want a legal case. We want to make sure Ruiz is respected as well. But obviously, he signed up to a contract, and he's got to honour that, and he knows that. So we shall see.
So if you're ruling out America and obviously Cardiff, there's what you've just said there. I'm assuming anywhere else.
Cardiff's still a
Yeah,
favourite.
but I'm assuming anywhere else would be a bit of a wild card.
Yeah,
Because
there's a few wild cards. They're difficult logistically, but some have sort of made me raise my eyebrows because I think they're quite, I guess, iconic. You know, when you talk about the fights of the past, Rumble in the Jungle and Thriller in Manila, and, you know, they're historic events. So those events are all fraught with problems logistically, but you know, historic.
And you expect to have a decision by when? I know we ask you every week.
Yeah. I keep saying like at the weekend.
Oh
at
yeah,
the
definitely,
weekend,
definitely. Yeah.
Like Ruiz's team will be alerted probably in the next 48 hours, and then it's just a case of whether we make that public knowledge when we go through that process, or we wait for an official announcement and press conferences.
Okay. Your show this Friday. Run
Talk
with-
about that, yeah. It's a really good show. I mean, I think Brian Rose against Anthony Fowler is a great fight. Great fight. You know, I think that you're in a situation there where Brian Rose, I think the pressure's off Brian in that fight. Although he's kind of fighting for his career, I think he can go in there and just try and win the fight. For Fowler, the pressure's much bigger. I have to give Fowler respect because he's coming off a Scott Fitzgerald loss. Should arguably have a warm-up fight and get himself back, but no, he believes that he can beat Brian Rose and get himself right back in the mix. So that's a great fight. John Harding Jr.
Jack Cullen. Yeah.
Jack Cullen, great fight for the English middleweight title. Dillian will be up there on Friday in Liverpool with his boy John Harding Jr. They trained together. Great fight. Sean McGoldrick against Asomba, another great fight. Big step up from McGoldrick. Lewis Ritson on the card. Joe Hughes is out with a back injury. He defends his WBA title. Robbie Davis on the card. Martin Bacoli on the card as well. John Doherty. Kez Ashfaq against Sean Davis. Another good fight. Just a little earlier on in the night, but it's a really good card. Just trying to make the next gens, like, you've got to stick those sort of 50-50 fights in there, or give young fighters coming through their biggest test to date and some proper tests. And I think we're doing that in Fowler Rose, in McGoldrick and Somber, in Cullen against John Harding Jr., etc., etc.
I want to ask your opinion about MTK announced a golden contract tournament. It's quite interesting, where kind of over 3 different weight classes, but the winners will secure a contract with a world top promoter. I'm assuming, well, as you assume, obviously
There's only
MTK
one
links.
world top promoter.
Well,
Oh, a top promoter.
yeah.
I thought you meant sort of the world top promoter.
The.
I love it. I love it. I think it's a great idea. I think MTK are putting on. I watch the shows on your stream when I can, and actually the numbers are good as well.
Decent,
and the production's good, the fights are good. I think there's good people involved on the matchmaking side. I think Lee Eaton's doing a really good job. The people are really passionate about boxing, so they want to make good fights. I think the tournament's a great idea. I think you have to do those things, those tournaments at the level where the names are really good and there's some good fights, but you got to kind of do it away from necessarily the signed fighters, because I think some of the problems with tournaments is there's so much politics. And I look at like the World Boxing Super Series, promotional companies are not entering fighters in that series. And again, same thing with this tournament is you want to forget those. Put the kids in who are ready to fight, who are up for fighting, who want to take the chance, who want to win that big contract. Now that's what this proposed tournament, if I understand it, is all about. The chance to go and secure a major contract, be involved in big money fights. So I like it. I think MTK are doing a good job, you know, and I think the only bad thing MTK are doing is being involved with you, to be honest with you. You know, I think everything else they're doing is very professional, very slick, and then obviously your relationship's more of a long-standing one, but they must look at it now and go, this isn't a good look for us, because, you know.
Just remember where you started, mate.
Oh, fuck off. Remember where you started.
Alright, listen, it's been... You know
you
what?
Scratch my back, I'll scratch yours.
It's been a couple of years since I've been in the back of a boat with you.
Hasn't it?
That sounded wrong.
And you still fell asleep.
Still fell asleep. Edward, can we just run through some dates, please?
Yes.
Okay, so August, obviously this week in Liverpool. End of the month. You've got a big gap then till end of the month for
Big gap from when?
From this show on Friday until the 31st.
I've got 2 weeks till my show after in Mexico.
Oh yeah.
Estrada, Hrgovic, John O'Carroll on that card, maybe Liam Smith as well.
Oh
actually,
really?
Yeah. Then I've got O2, Lomachenko, Campbell, Fury-Povetkin, 4 other fights to be announced.
Yep.
Most of them coming this week.
Is Charlie Edwards on the card?
Yes. Then we've got September the 7th, could potentially be Ricky Burns against Lee Selby up at the Hydro.
Yep.
21st of September could be Callum Smith, possibly in Liverpool. October then you've got September the 14th is likely to be Devin Haney, Hunter against Kuzmin, just made great heavyweight fight. Danny Roman against Akhmadaliev, which is another great fight. And October the 5th could be Golovkin. October the 12th could be Usyk. October the 19th could be Newcastle, we're looking at. Maybe Josh Kelly and Lewis Ritson. 26th could be London.
What, O2?
Yeah, and then...
could that be potentially
Parker,
Yeah.
possibly. And there's a couple of Italian shows. We start our Spain project in November.
Is it in Marbella?
No.
Oh.
But be good fun. So yeah, basically this period here is all about just firming your dates up. It's a tough period actually, because you've got, you know, I mean, Burns Selby is like 6 weeks away, so we need to get that up and running.
Where could potentially Golovkin be fighting? I know it's...
I think LA.
Yeah. And what about Usyk?
Chicago we're looking at.
Okay. So literally you've got
a show a week.
Show a week.
Yeah. Sometimes 2 shows a week.
At least one. Let's talk about your girls. Your girls. Katie Taylor first of all. What's the plans?
I think Katie, she wants the rematch pursuit. She also likes the Amanda Serrano fight. So really she just wants the fights that are going to be sort of, I guess, historic and major. I mean, you look at Katie, you think, how long do you want to go on for? And if you ask her, she'll tell you about 10 years. So I look at like a 3-year plan really for Katie. So that she's going to box another 7 or 8 times, and then we'll see how we get on.
What about Chantel Cameron?
Yeah, it's a good fight. I mean, I'd like to see Chantel I mean, obviously now she's going to get her shot eventually anyway because she's mandatory.
Yeah.
But very good fighter. I think that fight could be really big, and I'd like to see her sort of get more, say, well known. But that's a dangerous fight. She's a good fighter. Terry Harper, really good fighter as well. We're going to be working with. I'd actually quite like to make Terry Harper and Chantel Cameron as well, or Natasha Jonas, you know, in that mix. I'd quite like to get domestically some fights going. Do you know what I mean?
What about Shannon Courtney?
Shannon Courtney, but she's much lighter weight.
Yeah, I just meant when she out.
Yeah, she'll be out new season, probably possibly middle of September. But she had a good run. I think she had 3 fights in 5 or 6 weeks, so she's gonna have a little rest back in September.
Okay. What, potentially on that Liverpool card?
Yeah.
Right, mate. Okay. Have you got anything else you'd like to add?
I would like to add. No, I think you've grilled me on everything. Listen to the podcast. No Passion, No Point.
Kano's on this
BBC
one,
Sounds. Oh, right, the guests have been unbelievable.
Yeah, you've had.
So if you go to No Passion, No Point, BBC Sounds, 5 Live, whatever, just search the podcast. You've got Wayne Rooney, Sadiq Khan, KSI, Katie Taylor, Noel Gallagher, David Gandy, Kano, and Stacey Dooley. But Kano and Stacey Dooley, take your phone, drop. I think Stacey Dooley this week and then Kano next week. And then I'm going to do AJ, it's going to be my last one. And then one more in between. I know you've asked me if you could go on it earlier.
You said I weren't big enough.
No, basically you're not. So
Nice,
they want high profile people with credibility.
Back up.
Yeah.
It's alright if there's a little break in it. It's fine. Like you've asked for anything to be edited, so is that what you're barrel on?
Yeah,
about?
take that bit out, mate.
What bit?
No, because you're that unprofessional that every minute you go, oh fuck, card's gone, oh the battery's gone, oh. Is it just a memory?
Yeah, the card.
So then you have to delete earlier interviews. Maybe before you go to bed the night before you've got a press conference, maybe delete some stuff.
It's not that. You know, when it gets to 30 minutes, it automatically stops. Anyone who's got one of these cameras knows that that's the case.
Oh really? What? A Canon
EOS R.
A Canon EOS R 6400 fast lens, double speed action pump.
Such a bitch. Alright. What was the last thing we were talking about?
I've lost the plot now. I don't even know where we are.
Where are we? Oh, we're in
Where
Liverpool.
are we, Brett? We're in Liverpool.
Good thing we did this in the
That's
car.
quick.
Good thing we've done this in the car.
I love Liverpool.
I love
Just
Liverpool.
want to say I love Liverpool.
I do love Liverpool.
I love Liverpool. I love Scousers. I love the Hilton Hotel. This is a new venue, by the way. It's the exhibition centre at the Echo, where the show is on Friday.
This is where the presser is?
No, it's at the Hilton.
Oh. Is that it?
I believe so, yeah.
One more question about Dillian Whyte's situation.
Go
right?
on, anything you want. Listen, I don't.
If you,
I don't
I'll tell you what,
shirk
I'm not going to.
You know how many people in my spot would have gone, oh mate, I just can't talk about that. And now we're going to get to the presser, and I'm going to have to go through the whole thing 10 times.
I know.
It's shit, mate. I've had so much stick.
Because ideally for you, you just love to just tell exactly what's going on and everything.
I'm telling you.
I know,
basically all I know.
But basically,
I think it's more for him. You know, I think he would be the one who wants to come out, sit down, do an hour with you, and say, right, this is exactly what happened. Blah 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 blah. But we want that to come from certain people rather than Dillian Whyte, because then you still probably wouldn't believe it.
It all comes out in the end.
Everything will come out in the end. But as always, clean hearts win.
On that note, Edward Hearn, thank you very much for talking to IFL TV.
In association with MTK?
Absolutely, shout out MTK. Running the game we are, mate. You know what I mean, mate? Alright, cheers.